Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida have all named starting quarterbacks. Let's talk some football.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. And now that we're in game week, we're just breaking down quarterbacks and having fun, actually talking about the game of football. And thank you for being here with me. I am Brian Smith once again, and I appreciate everybody being here. But tonight is special because not only did Florida name a quarterback, not only did Tennessee, Keelon Russell is going to be the quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We have plenty to discuss, and I appreciate it because it's finally game week, folks. It's been a long off season. So with that, today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. Okay, there's no particular order with this, but because I'm so intrigued with Keelon Russell, I'm going to go with him first. He's the only one of this group that I didn't see in some capacity at somewhere along the lines. I know at some point I saw Aaron Philo at one of the 7-on-7s or something because he's a Georgia kid. I just don't remember exactly where, but nonetheless, Faizon Brandon I'm very familiar with, but I don't recall seeing Keelon Russell. And I love his high school film. I loved exactly what I saw during the spring game, although in fall camp, there's only so much they've really allowed for a good reason. The Alabama staff hasn't allowed much to get out, and I get it. But now we're in a circumstance where all three of them are going to get analyzed tonight. And I want to give one broad sweeping moment here for all three of them that I'm looking for that I don't want to see. This is for any young quarterback. There's no order here, but these are the three things that will get them in trouble. Not handling the pass rush well. If you don't and you throw it up for grabs or you throw a duck and get your receiver killed, and obviously just taking sacks or getting hit and releasing it just to try to avoid the sack and the ball pops up. All those things are bad with pressure. Post-snap reads. How far are they in their development? These are all younger players. Guys haven't played a ton. And then when you get behind, do you get greedy and try to force the ball into areas that you shouldn't and watch the ball go the other direction? So again, dealing with pressure, post-snap reads, and just being greedy when you're behind. Those are the three things that I'm most concerned about. Now, here's what I have for Keelon Russell. These are the five things that I think that he does well, just from studying him, talking to people. Excellent at navigating the pocket. This is insanely rare for me to even consider, let alone put up on the screen. For those of you on YouTube watching this live or later on, you can see the five, and I'll read these for those of you that are listening on Spotify, Apple, and elsewhere. But number one thing I really liked, if he gets early pressure, he doesn't automatically just say, oh, no, I've got to run. He will avoid the pressure, move forward in the pocket, or move to the side if necessary. And then he will keep his eyes down the field. It's like he's a 5-year NFL vet. This guy's not old enough to go to a bar. He's second year in college. It's really rare. Number two, makes awkward throws look easy. If you're an Alabama fan, you're probably going to remember this pass. But Keelon Russell was moving to his left, and he had a seam route down the field. I believe it was Cedarian Morgan, the freshman, but I could be wrong. But he threw one, and it was pretty good coverage. The guy was carrying just behind him, and he put it on him. I'm like, that is an awkward throw, and he made that. And he made several of those during his high school career at Duncanville High School in Texas, just outside of Dallas, big-time program. That's just a knack for him, and it is a major plus. Patience, that's rare for his age. He'll hit checkdowns. He'll hit the 7-yard hitch. He isn't the guy that just forces the football. Number four, he throws receivers open, and this is a very broad topic. I'll just give you one example. Guys running a crossing route 10 to 12 yards deep over, whatever it is. He will stare at the backside safety to hold the front side safety where he's at. He will release the football a little bit towards that safety, and as his receiver crosses the face of the linebacker or goes behind him, whatever it is, he leads him to the other side while holding that safety in the opposite direction. He does the little things already, at least part of the time. You don't see that from a young quarterback. Again, make it look like he's going left, for example, but he throws the football to the right while his receiver goes left to right. It just completely confuses the defense. That is a veteran move. That's something that Keelon Russell will do. And 5 is the one that I think a lot of people are about to find out about. Keelon Russell is somebody that will beat you with his feet, not just avoiding the rush or an occasional quarterback sweep, etc. The RPO game will be a plus for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's not going to be a consistent runner. I think they're going to try to keep him out of harm's way. This kid's got an NFL future if everything goes like it should. But all of those are basically the barometer for what I'm going to talk about for Faizon Brandon, as well as Aaron Philo here in a minute. But I wanted to use those, like, are you patient in the pocket? Do you climb the pocket? Are you going to get rid of the football in a timely fashion by using your eyes? And just sometimes it's not there. Do you take off with, your third option is not available? It might be time to bail. It's the SEC that he's playing in. All these little things, he seems to have an innate ability to figure out. I love the upside of Russell, and obviously Grubb and DeBoer and everybody on that Alabama staff. They understand the passing game. But there is another side to this, and we'll come back to the other two after I do this. But here are the concerns, and these are very similar to what I would worry about with Philo and Faizon Brandon as well. When adversity strikes, this is a very important thing, and I already touched on this. Again, pressure really early, like there's a bust. How do you handle it? Do you throw it away? Can you make the first guy miss? Do you panic? Do you throw it up? Do you get your receiver killed because you make a terrible pass that you shouldn't have because you just didn't want to get hit? How do you handle adversity? Plus, just, your defense is playing terrible. You have to change the game plan. Whatever it is, how do you handle adversity? Getting that pass rush in your face is part of it. But there's also those teams that they may not even rush the passer well. They bring 3 after showing a 5-man front and they drop. And 3-man rush, but they're dropping 8. Probably going to have to check down. Unless you just throw a dime, and it's probably going to be risky. 8-man in coverage is not much fun. Underneath. They're trying to make you be patient. Can you handle that? Post-snap reads. You get a little greedy. You see pressure, and you think you have something. If they switch after that snap, a lot of time the ball goes the other way. And then finally, again, just getting greedy. If you're behind, you got to make sure you can handle it. So with him, again, I wonder about adversity because he's a second-year player. Now, this is the other thing for all 3 of these guys, and I just put this on the screen for Keelon. This is the only one I've done the little edits for, but post-snap reads are different when a quarterback can be smashed. That's what I just put on the screen for those of you that are watching live or seeing this on YouTube. What do I mean by that? Well, quarterbacks don't get hit in college, even in high school anymore. They don't get hit at all. So when you have somebody that's 295 pounds charging at you, that's a 3-tech that is hoping to get into the second round of the NFL draft after this year, how do you handle that? We have no way of knowing. And that's something I'm really interested in with all 3 of these guys. It's just different when the bullets arrive, and it makes projecting quarterbacks darn near impossible. And then third, having to be a primary runner, taking the hits and still being accurate as a passer. What do I mean by this? There are going to be some games where you get banged up, man, especially if you're going to run RPO, if you're going to run some quarterback sweeps, quarterback power, hand, shoulder, finger. Sometimes it's not going to feel good. You're going to get beat up, not just once or all. Pretty much every game, there's going to be a few plays. You're kind of like, okay, is everything in place? How do you handle that? Because it goes back to that same point. They don't get hit in practice. It looks great on tape because they got these green jerseys on at Bama or wherever. Every school has their own color jersey for it. But how do they handle the ability to get smashed, go to the next play, and run the offense, whether they got sacked, whether it was just a traditional running play that they took off with? If they can't handle that, it's not going to go very well. Everybody knows how difficult it is to play quarterback anyway. Now be a little bit nicked up in the middle of the game, just kind of randomly. Add that to the pile. That's not very easy. When we come back, I'm going to dive into Aaron Philo at Florida, and I'm also going to discuss Mr. Faizon Brandon, one of my favorite players that I've spoken to the last couple of years, headed to the University of Tennessee. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast Live Show. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There are more live events than ever that are worth seeing. Doesn't matter if it's a college football game, if it's baseball, if you're trying to go to a concert, a festival, there's all kinds of stuff, but it's not what you want to go to. It's how do you get there? Because these apps, long wait times, sometimes the prices change. It's really confusing. And that's where Game Time comes into play. The app is built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy the ticket, and exclusive savings that give you the opportunity to go to events without all the hassle. Take it from me, somebody who has bought tickets from Game Time, not once, but twice. It's really easy. You just find the team that you want to go see or the concert, whatever it may be. Type in Metallica, type in orchestra, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Find the venue, find the seat, look at it right there on your phone, buy the tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Aaron Philo is one of the more exciting players to kind of try to figure out because he comes over from Georgia Tech. He had the opportunity to play like 3 games, one of which was Gardner-Webb. One was like first play came in was 3rd and 15 against Virginia Tech on the road. I was watching some film of him earlier today, the Film Guy Network. I don't know why you would bring a quarterback into the game at 3rd and 15. That when I saw that, I about fell over. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. But anyway, he's played a little bit, and he's got a gun. Like some people are questioning his arm strength. I don't know where in the world that came from. We'll get into that later. But Brooks Austin, the film guy, brought that up, and I'm like, what? Somebody questioned Aaron Philo's arm? Who's that? He throws some darts, and he needs to take something off, if anything else. But here are a few of the things you need to know about it. These stats are insane for Aaron Philo. And I know he played 1A football in Georgia, but he broke every state record you could pretty much imagine. 56 touchdown passes in a season, 13,922 yards for a career. So he averaged roughly 3,500 yards, something like that a year. It's crazy. So with all that being stated, he's somebody that knows what it's like to sling it. And on top of it, it is a little bit of time that he played for Tech, 16 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. So he's pretty mobile. So now the big question, he comes over to Florida from Georgia Tech with the coordinator, Buster Faulkner. How much of that offense is he going to be comfortable with in conjunction with feeling comfortable that the receivers, the O-line, and everybody are on the same page too? To me, that's the bigger question. You can't be in a circumstance where the quarterback knows everything, but everybody else is a half tick behind. I don't know. That's the only thing additional to him that's different for me as it relates to Bama and Tennessee. Like the other 2 guys are new. Russell's a second-year player, Faizon Brandon's first, but they haven't really played at all. But they didn't have the advantage of being in a system for 2 years. Like 1 year is one thing with what Russell had at Bama last year. That's helpful. But this is multiple for Philo. So if they're in sync and he's got some players, here are the receivers that he has to throw to. Dallas Wilson, who was 5-star by some people. Vernell Brown, another guy that was borderline 5-star. And Eric Singleton, who was torn up at Georgia Tech and at Auburn. He's had some big moments. That's 3 possible NFL receivers. So if they're on the same page with Philo, it comes back to those same things. Does he handle pass rush without turning the ball over? I would assume somebody that threw for over 13,000 yards in high school is a little more advanced just going into the collegiate game in terms of understanding post-snap reads. And then finally, again, just like always, if you're down, you can't be greedy. You got to make precision passes, make good decisions, maximize your time, but you can't force it because the ball will go the other way. He throws some that are a little iffy, but he's more accurate than most guys. With this group of receivers, I don't think they'll necessarily be consistent from day one because, again, they're all getting acclimated to each other, but they've played with each other since the spring and summer. By the middle of the year, Florida's probably going to have a game somewhere where they beat a team where they're like underdogs by like 7-10 points on the road or something. If Philo gets hot, he's capable of leading Florida to an incredible game. His film is good, man. Go check it out. Brooks Austin, the film guy, he did a nice breakdown with vertical film. It's about 45 minutes long. It's on YouTube. Go watch Aaron Philo's film. It's pretty good. It kind of reminds me of the circumstance at Florida State with Ashton Daniels, although he's older. He hasn't played a ton with good players, but the little bit of film he had last year at Auburn was good. Like, what are you going to get? We're not sure. That's kind of the same deal with Aaron Philo, but he's just a more accurate passer, in my opinion, and that's a big, big deal. There's no substitute for accuracy, and Aaron Philo absolutely has it. Finally, let's talk about Faizon Brandon. This is a young man that I think is talented as you're really going to get, but in terms of what I expect, if I could pick one guy this year to be more up and down than the other two, it would be him. A, he's a true freshman. B, the whole weight of the world is going to be on him because he is a freshman. And I'll just say it, Tennessee fans, their expectations don't match what I think reality is. I even said that on a Tennessee show recently, Locked On Vols. Do not judge him by the Tennessee Vols record. Even the host looked at me like he wanted to shoot me. It's just true freshmen don't lead teams to playoffs. It's just not normal. If it happens, that's a bonus. To that end, he's probably going to lose you a game somewhere because of the post-snap. Number 2 on my list, post-snap reads. Yeah. I don't feel good about a true freshman there. Now, they run a very basic system with the wide choice offense that at Tennessee runs now, Auburn as well. But at some point, teams like Bama, teams like Georgia, teams that can run different kinds of match defense or play zone on one side, man on the other, they're going to catch him just snoozing on what's going on, or he may not know at all. And there's probably going to be some turnover. I would wager heavily that if he starts every game this year, he'll be in double digits with interceptions. That would be my strong guess. He's a true freshman. Now, he's a 5-star. He's a freak. He could play wide receiver. He could play free safety. He could play outside linebacker. Faizon Brandon is an incredibly talented young man. You could put him on any sport, basketball, tennis, anything. If he'd played anything from an early age and focused on it, he'd been very successful. But this is a different position at quarterback. Again, I'm sure there's going to be some Tennessee fans that watch this. At some point this year, you're going to lose a game, if not 2, because he's out there, and vice versa. You will see a ton of inconsistency. But I still like the move long-term because he gives you the best chance in 2027 and 2028 to do what you need. And there might be no more after that because his arm strength, his ability to make guys miss, his ability to avoid the rush, all those things are good. And here's probably the best part about it. Out of all the guys that I've met in the last few years, there are very, very few that were easier to deal with than Faizon Brandon. I don't care if it was a 3-star recruit. I don't care if it was a 5-star recruit. Not only Faizon, but his mom, everybody around him was chill. Guys like him that have all the offers, commitments, and all that stuff, have the money already, they're not usually like that. In my experience, it is a very good sign because those young men typically end up accepting coaching better. Players will want to be with them more. Recruits will want to come there. Transfers will want to come there. He's the kind of guy that can be your Pied Piper. And again, I don't have very high hopes from Tennessee this year. I know all of those people that spend a lot of money on tickets don't want to hear that, but I'm not betting on a true freshman to go through the SEC schedule and do consistently well. There are 7-5 teams, something like that this year. That's my guess. But if they win more than that, it'll probably be because of him because he might have a game he runs for 120 yards against a team that only gives up 100 yards a game by himself because he might have an 80-yard touchdown running. That doesn't count what he can do throwing the ball. And yes, he's got a big arm. So I'm very excited about him long-term. Not as bullish for this season, but you know what, man, it's college football. You're going to have that sometime. So it is what it is. Going to hit a couple of ad bumpers here, and then we'll come back and get into the chat. All right. I see Salty is very busy in the chat, to put it mildly. And I'm not sure if he's just a big quarterback guy or something, but he had like 15 posts on here. Salty, you are a busy man. Which of tonight's quarterbacks has the highest ceiling? Faizon Brandon, in my opinion, because he's still the guy that, like, Keelon Russell has learned the most for a young guy, just about anybody I've seen recently. Faizon Brandon, if he figures it out in terms of all the post-snap read stuff and all that, he could be unbelievable. And saying that is incredible because Keelon Russell's upside is incredible too. I think Philo isn't quite the runner that Brandon is. I don't know enough about him to understand what systems he's played in yet, but I think he can be a lot better than people think too. Which of tonight's quarterbacks is joining a program that is the best match for their skills? Ooh, this is a great question. Ooh. I'll say Russell because they want to challenge their quarterbacks with NFL stuff, and I think he wants that. That's my guess. Similar to the Cignetti effect, is there a Chambliss effect? In other words, an expectation that a quarterback should be instantly transformative to a team, leading them to or into and through the playoffs? Unfortunately, yes. You know what that's called, Salty? Well, I can answer that with a question. What your question is here. What is the term fan short for? Well, that's fanatic. And fanatics are not realistic. Everybody thinks, well, Indiana went and got a Heisman Trophy winner and went and won a title. We can do that. It's not how it works. Indiana is the ultimate outlier. Salty, are you surprised that Bama did not go with the older, more experienced quarterback and look to ease Russell into the starting spot at some point in the season, as was the case for Trevor Lawrence? You got to remember, Trevor was the starting quarterback as a freshman. Keelon Russell is a sophomore. I don't know. I don't know what the distance between those two was. I mean, nobody's really available to be at practice, but it's a good question. I just don't know enough information about it. Will Keelon Russell have a short enough leash at Bama that Mac has a 50% chance of replacing him as starter, even if not the entire remainder of the season? He would have to bomb because he's a 5-star kid. You've invested in him. If he plays that bad, that means things have gone sideways, in my opinion. Which is the best situation? Russell's, in which you are starting but aware that your runway to being pulled may be short, or Max, in which you were QB2 and prepare while awaiting a start? I mean, I always want to be the starter first. I think you are in a better spot. Which game will be Russell's first true test? Kentucky, FSU, South Carolina, Mississippi State, or Georgia? I think it's Florida State, and it's for two reasons. They've got some pretty good talent in the secondary, and Tony White's defense is not fun to face for a young quarterback. They're going to run junk defenses. They're going to show something pro-snap that's different than pre-snap constantly. He's going to be tested mentally. Salty, will Alabama have the running game to support Russell so that his Superman moments are few and far between? That is the ultimate question. Salty brought up something that I didn't really dive into when I was talking about Russell. This is something that I believe is a year-round commitment, and Alabama failed at immensely last year. Do you have the wherewithal to commit to the run game 365 days a year, not to support your quarterback, but to be a line of scrimmage team? If the answer to that, by my definition of it, again, 365 is no, you're not winning a national title. You've got to be able to run the football and dictate your will. Aaron Philo was a backup to Haynes King at Georgia Tech, appearing in 8 games and going 59 for 938 yards, 2 TDs, 3 picks. How much uncertainty is there on his performance early on in the season? A lot. They play a game at Auburn, like week 3. If they don't win that game, there'll be a lot of questions probably, because that means he probably didn't play great. It's not like he doesn't have receivers that are good. But Philo he's really talented. And the receivers that he's throwing to, I think, are even more talented. This is Philo's second team, but he followed his coordinator to Florida. Faulkner hasn't been with Sumrall. Is this a net positive or negative? I think it's fine because chemistry and system with quarterbacks is huge. Faizon Brandon is the first true freshman to start at Tennessee since 2004. Should Tennessee have started McIntyre and ease Brandon in the starting lineup at some point? Without seeing practice, again, I don't know for sure, but I think Faizon's legs were the answer to that. Brandon has dual threat capability. His running ability should be helpful to Tennessee and continuing drives, especially in the running game. But will it hinder his development as a passer? That's a great question. Sometimes you get happy with what they can do running the ball and you don't help them learn the system. Tennessee's system is very basic, though. It is not NFL at all. It's more high school-like. They just try to out-talent you. But that's a good question. Faizon Brandon has dealt with the fact that he should be named Brandon Faizon for his entire life. Has this struggle been a negative or dealing with it and overcoming it have been a positive? I'm sure he gets called that all the time. He's such a nice kid. I don't think he cares, man. Here's a question that I had for the chat. How much does Tennessee turn Faizon Brandon loose to run the football this season? Russell will run and a lot if Bama doesn't find running game. Over. I like 8 wins for Florida. Interesting. They're over. Yeah, Florida's win total is 7.5 on FanDuel. That's not very high. Under Salty, Florida, no way over 8 wins. Interesting. Question 3 from Salty. Tennessee will turn Brandon loose to run. He fits Heupel's dual threat up-tempo offense perfectly. I agree. Every new quarterback needs a good running game to relieve some pressure. That's from Hurricane Hicks. Amen to that. Even experienced quarterbacks. You allow them to throw play action or have the choice on 2nd and 5 to do whatever they want. Man, that's tough. Florida goes 7-5 or 6-6. That late season 3-game stretch will beat them down. And Kentucky has a history of surprising them. Could be. Salty. Lionel not over, and I originally went under, but something pushed me to 8, probably faith in Sumrall and Faulkner. Salty from Lionel. Too much faith. You're definitely not a Florida fan. If the Florida offensive line is improved to average, I may lean 7-5. There's reports Florida's offensive line is better, but I hear that every year. I need to see it. So I'm not sold on that either. Didn't Phillip break Trevor Lawrence's passing records in high school? Yes, he did. Total yards in high school were 13,922. He beat by like 15 yards or something like that. It was really close, but that's insane, man. That's just insane. So nonetheless, there's a lot of interesting stuff with these guys coming along like they have. I really don't know what to expect directly. I just keep coming back to my 3 main themes. How do they handle pressure in their face, post-snap reads, and then if they get down in a game, can their team not only rely on them to make good throws, but also not to get the situation where, well, it's 3rd and 8. I've got to get it all right here. If you're down a bunch, you're going to go for it on 4th down anyway. Take the check down, make it 4th and 3, and we'll go for it. Be patient. Don't turn the ball over. It's really what it comes down to. If you avoid the negative plays with the skill talent, like let's just use Aaron Philo, bro, that talent is so good that there's really no reason to think that you're not going to be able to not just make plays, but just get them the ball. Let them do it. Dallas Wilson at like 210 can make guys miss. The wide receivers at Tennessee, like Staley and Matthews, yeah, they can make guys miss and they can run by people. Then we all know Alabama has got a lot of players too. Is it Weitzer or Wetzer Brooks, like that kid from New Jersey? It was a freshman last year for Bama. Ryan Coleman Williams, Derek Meadows. They have so many good, talented receivers. It's the same thing there. If you just distribute the football, you could throw for 225, 250 a game. You've only got to hit like one chunk yardage play at 35, 40 yards to be pushing 300 yards passing in a game. Just be accurate, be on time, and make the right calls. The playmakers will do the rest from there. I think that's probably the best piece of advice that I could give any of these young quarterbacks, to be really honest with you. With that, I appreciate everybody showing up for another Portal podcast. We're closing in on game day. It's week 0 this week. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I know it's not a great week, but NC State, Virginia, I believe, is in Charlottesville this week. That's the one game I'm very interested in. But please like and subscribe. We'll be talking about different games and more quarterbacks and other things between now and the end of the week. So everybody, please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon on the Portal Podcast.